Good morning. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Welcome along to this week's IMCO webinar, our Maternity Natural Health series. And I've got a big welcome this week to a fabulous guest coming in from Canada, which is Atul, Mehra. And I'll explain a little bit more about him shortly when we've got a few more people that have just managed to come on in now that we've opened everything up. And for those of you that are starting to sign in, know that down the bottom of the screen is that little place with the chat mode. And so please do go into the chat and just let us know who you are and where you are. So let us know if you're a health professional or kind of health professional and whereabouts in the world you are, and or perhaps you might be an expectant pregnant mum, and let us know that. And then of course also down the bottom of the screen is our Q&A section, little button for you. So if you've got any particular questions for Atul, then feel free to just type those in and we'll make sure that we get to those during today's session. And so I am very excited to welcome Atul to this latest IMCO webinar. And for those of you who don't know, well, let's firstly say hello so that your face pops up, Atul.
Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
Yes, it is depending on where you are.
Absolutely.
And so Atul Mehra is a published author, international speaker, and he's a registered psychologist in Ontario in Canada. And he has participated in a moderated panel discussion with the famous Dr. John Gray. That must have been pretty amazing. And also spoken at an international event headlined by Deepak Chopra, and has been a guest on hundreds of TV and radio shows. So well used to sitting on a Zoom meeting. And Atul recently has published his latest book, which is The Unseen Wisdom of the Unborn. He's also finished another manuscript, which is The Need for Disease. These are interesting titles he'll have to talk to us a little bit about. And he's also currently working on 2 other books. My Unconscious Self and Addiction to Survival, Not Guilt. And he'll share some experience and wisdom from more than 20 years, 2 decades, working with the unconscious mind. And him and I have just had a little bit of interesting chats leading into going live. And wow, it's got some amazing information to tell us. And I love the title of today's topic: Does sperm have a consciousness? I'm just going to have a little into the chat area here and just see who. We've got some regulars returning here, and some names popping up I recognise. And we've got at the moment I can see midwives, doulas, and we've got somebody from Japan, and that's fantastic. And also from England, and more midwives, yeah, a naturopath, and Bowen Tech therapist. So, oh look, it's just welcome everybody. It's just fantastic to have you here. And so Atul, please introduce yourself. Tell us more about your background and how you came to be studying this particular topic, and what is sperm consciousness, and because you're obviously absolutely pioneering in this space. So please take the floor.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm so grateful that I know that every one of us has a unique moment, great experiences to share. And I know that everybody has their fascinating story. So my name is Atul Mehra. I was born and grown up in New Delhi, India. And when I was 4 years old, my father taught me how to meditate. So, but in the school life and as well as in my life at home, I was bullied. They, hit me, tried to put fertilizer into my mouth, but
Oh,
something miraculous happened. I was able to separate physical pain from mental pain, and I could understand the power of mind from there onwards. And I remember I was approximately 9 years old, like I was telling you before, Kathy, and my mom was pregnant with my baby brother. And my grandmother says, "Look, hun, do not watch horror movies. Do not um, listen to bad words. It's going to affect the baby." I was really surprised. I said, "What? How it is possible?" Then, that was a curiosity. And then, after studying, doing then my integrated therapy of in-depth psychology from Meersburg, Germany, I was introduced to this technique by Dr. Vernon Meinhold. Since last 20 years, I have worked from simple anxiety to schizophrenia uh, with 90% of success rate, including a disintegration of a tumor. And all these experiences, all these things happened because we were able to tap into mother's womb, and we will work through them and resolve many, many present day issues.
it's so interesting, Atul, that that memory is so strong from when you were just 9 years old, of that idea that um, what's happening around that mother carrying that baby, is importing or imprinting into that baby. And it's so often funny that when I think I mentioned to you earlier that it's like there are these things that we might call um, old wives' tales of oh, that's an old wife's tale of something, and then years later science actually ends up backing up that old wives' tale. And so what you're studying in a way is an area that it's so cutting edge, because science needs to catch up in a little way, doesn't
Absolutely.
it?
Absolutely. I completely agree with you that science is quite behind. Recently, I discovered that it's not the sperm. I mean, with working with more than 20,000 sessions with different clients, I discovered it's not the sperm which fertilizes the egg, but egg can also pick up the sperm which is coming.
So,
And
so tell us, when you say that you've discovered this, sort of how have you come to discover this kind of information?
so we can go into relaxation state. So in order to do my work with the client, first I have to go to whole life therapy process. So in this process, let us say one is 30 years old, he need around 30 sessions, but it takes up to 2 years to resolve his problems. So we go backwards: 30, 29, 10, 9, 8, 7, 3, mother's home 9, 8, 3, 2, 1, 0 year. Therapy finishes. One session of 1 week of 1 hour of all important events from present age towards the beginning of our life. So we work with it. So I remember when I was in mother's womb, so I have that experience that I was picked by an egg. I didn't fertilize the egg, but the egg was waiting for me. So I was picked. Two hands came out and they picked me up. And I think there is very famous Australian psychiatrist. I think it's Dr. Graham Ferrand, who also, said the same thing. He's a very famous psychiatrist, if I'm not mistaken, and he has done a lot of work in the fields of prenatal studies. And I think, and he was a famous psychiatrist. He also spoke about that experience. So it was hilarious, to know that what I experienced, I mean, a famous psychiatrist has done the same thing. So,
Right.
so, so then, I started working on my clients, and every time I was able to reach to that point, so they were in very, very relaxed, conscious form, and they are accessing that memory. So when they are sperm, so they found if father is happy, so the sperm carries the information of an accepted child. And if father has any kind of fear, he feels rejection and he's scared to move towards the egg. And sperm knows that it has to reach somewhere. It has a consciousness. He's the sperm which is conscious very first at the beginning. It's not like a random sperm is going to reach there. That is not true according to my experience.
Right. So when you've so what I guess you're seeing is this consistency that when people go deeper into their memories, you're having the commentary coming through from clients sort of saying that they all kind of had, if they go right back to the beginning of their memory, then they're still having that, they're all sort of saying the same thing, that same idea is coming through, that it's not a randomly which particular sperm just happens to get
Yes.
through to the egg. It's like there's one sperm who is destined to be there, and that's sort of really what you're saying, is that that sperm has a predetermined knowledge that is its purpose.
I would say not knowledge, I would say consciousness, because sperm feels. Because when you go to that state, you cannot think, because rational mind starts from 3 years. If you put EEG, electroencephalograph, on 2 years old child, he doesn't have alpha waves. It's all deep sleep. So it has consciousness. He feels. So because sense of feeling, we don't have 5 senses, but we have 18 senses. And sperm develops 5 senses during that period, which is sense of feeling. Okay, of course, you can buy my book and read more about the other 18 senses, how it works. But the best thing here is that the sperm can be maybe rejected by father and accepted by mother, or it can be rejected by mother and accepted by father. I have a very, very interesting case here where the mother wanted to get separated from the father, right?
Right.
So, but father didn't want that. So unconsciously, mother is not going to be separated. He sends a sperm, right, on an unconscious level. So mother gets pregnant. That was his unconscious desire, which came into, which becomes true, right? So now mother gets pregnant, and now she cannot get separated from the father because she didn't like that thing. So that baby feels that he is rejected from the mother, but accepted from the father, because sperm has that consciousness.
Right. And just that fact that you differentiated between me using the word knowledge and you say, no, it's not, it's consciousness. Yeah, I find that fascinating. So how does that sperm consciousness end up influencing daily life?
Yes, so it's very, very important. Many people come to me and they say, I'm going through depression. I don't know, my life doesn't make sense. My husband doesn't listen to me. My son has addiction. I feel so much guilt. I have not been able to forgive what my parents did to me. Or, I have treated diabetes. I have a cancer, etc., etc. So imagine that we have different kind of fruits, right? We have different kind of fruits, but the seed of that thing is one. So there can be different diseases. There can be diabetes, God forbid. I don't.
So this all comes from the same place, and so it can manifest into different negative things.
Absolutely.
And I guess it could manifest into different positive things depending on what that influence is.
Absolutely, absolutely, there are. But we are living so much demanding life that self-acceptance, we don't have self-acceptance. We live in a sick society. If we are not efficient, we are worth nothing. So So that's why, there are different kind of diseases, different kind of mental disorders, etc. But if we don't look at the labels and we go to the solution and we find the base, there must be a root cause, but root cause is nothing but a mask. Beneath it, everything starts from mother's womb. So let us say if I am rejected child, right? I feel it, oh, I was not planned. But that was not mother's fault. That was not father's fault. So what happens? That I do not have a mind of an adult. So I grow with that. The language you learn, the language you speak, the language you have learned, right? So if I felt that rejection, so that rejection becomes a kind of base to live my present life, because that creates a kind of security towards mother. Let me give you an example. So let us say mom feels anxiety, moms feel depression, and mom feels rejection, and she is pregnant during that pregnancy, right? So there is a repetitive feelings or sensations is being felt by baby, because baby is in womb, because baby feels what mother feels, because baby cannot hide himself from mothers. So those sensations, now mother with her adult mind knows that feeling anxiety, depression, or whatever she's feeling, rejection at the time of pregnancy is bad. But baby doesn't have a mind of an adult. He feels that this is a natural way of connecting with mother, because he cannot differentiate between good or bad at the time. Doesn't have development of.
And also, I guess because the baby has not had any other experience. This is the experience. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that becomes your normal, because you haven't had another way to feel. I mean,
exactly.
We know, it's that whole thing that we know that, say stress, we hear about the terms that stress is bad in pregnancy, and that would have been something that grandmothers would have been, saying to their daughters for, thousands of years, is to look after that pregnancy and look after that baby. And now, we've got the science that knows the actual effect that hormonal, chemical messaging
everything.
kind of level, and so why on earth would we not think that that this could not be affecting consciousness level?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It makes so much sense. And now we've got the knowledge coming through, where science is catching up again, where we're beginning to understand even just the micronutrients, that and those amazing little impacts of whether they turn on or turn off a gene, and this type of knowledge as well. And so,
but wait,
tell us more about this.
1 second, it doesn't stop there.
Yes.
So now in his adult life, he needs to create situations where he needs to feel rejection, he needs to feel anxiety or depression, which he felt in mother's womb, because that is his unconscious way of connecting with mother, and it serves as a false security for him. So that's
it's like his baseline.
Yeah. So if I remove that security from him, he can go into depression, or he can commit suicide, because he is losing his mother. That's the only way of connecting with his mother. So sometimes,
even though it could be perceived as a negative experience, a negative way to connect, I guess it's a little bit like when a child has been abused by a parent growing up, but they still love that parent,
Absolutely.
And then, they go into relationships of abuse, because that's their experience of what love is.
Yes, they feel security. That's why cancer can be a way not to die, but this is a last hope to live. The person is hanging through a thin thread. If that cuts down, the person dies. God forbid, nobody has that. So we have to start understanding where is the origin of, because first, let us say part is a simple infection on body level, and last part is neoplasm, which is cancer. And on a mental level, it can be little, anxiety. And the last part is the schizophrenia. Because Dr. Reckwick discovered any symptom which is removed forcefully, whether with medication or suggestion therapy, it creates the illusion that symptom has disappeared, but it goes into deeper part of psyche level and finds out a new pathway to show up. It is worse than the previous symptom, and different than the previous symptom, and different than the original problem. This condition is known as...
That reminds me of the sort of that naturopathic and homeopathic therapies, but the connections between, say, eczema and asthma. And if you inhibit the eczema, then the asthma will get worse, or you inhibit the eczema gets worse. And so it's like you say, it will find its way to
yeah, but there's still more manifestation. So what happened? So what happens after that? So if that symptom is again removed, so this condition is known as relocation of symptoms or symptom shift. So another therapy against symptom, another symptom shift till it goes from bad to worse. This new symptom can take hours, months, or years to reappear. Then there has been further study by Dr. Meinhold in Germany, who discovered symptoms can switch from physical level to mental level and vice versa. Let us say if you're angry and you hold your anger, you might feel your heartbeat goes up and you might feel perspiration in your palms. So this is what is switching of symptoms from physical to mental level is happening, and it can move from here and there, etc. But who creates that symptom? The person himself. Nobody says, hey, would you like to buy my anxiety? Today, 1 kg of anxiety, I'm going to give you 50% discount coupon. Come on. How much kilo of my diabetes would you like to buy? Nobody sells his disease, but the person creates his disease on his own by unconscious mind, because what is good in what is bad in conscious, it can be good in unconscious, because symptom is something logical. This is the wisdom of the body to create a perfect symptom.
Yes, so the body is always trying to get homeostasis, homeostasis, equilibrium. That's its mission constantly to try and get there. Now I'm just reminding those that have signed in, welcome to the webinar with Atul Mehra, and please, if you haven't popped your details into the chat area, we'd love to know your whereabouts in the world you are, and who you are, and whether you're a health professional or an expectant mum. Let us know. And also just a reminder to everybody watching that there's that little Q&A button down the bottom, so don't hesitate to type in any questions that you may have for Atul. Atul, I know that you've sort of talked about unconditional acceptance as playing a bit of a vital role within that whole intrauterine life. Do you want to explain to us a little bit more about what that is?
So we have different phases, and we have symbiosis phase, which is, starts from sperm consciousness till baby comes out and cutting the umbilical cord. So that is symbiosis phase, means symbiosis means uniting.
Right, symbiosis. So
right?
the two interconnected until that cord is cut.
Yes. So that phase discovered Dr. Meinhold, who call it symbiosis phase. So unconditional love is very, very important for the baby, So when mother has special desires on baby, let us say about the gender of the baby, oh, I want my baby to be blue eyes. I want my baby to have white skin, or I want my baby to become a doctor or a model or whatever. So now mother has desires and baby feels that pressure. If baby has those conditions of satisfying mother or father's need, I mean, he has tendencies to have blue eyes or become blonde or become a doctor, etc., then he feels accepted. But if any of these things, prerequisites, are not fulfilled by the baby, because he doesn't have a tendency to, let us say, he doesn't have blonde hair but black hair, doesn't have blue eyes but let us say green eyes, or whatever, let us say brown eyes. So he's not fulfilling that desire of a mother. Then there has to be an unconditional love of mother. It is not there, and there can be anything, which is pathology. So now every time he is going to see a person with blue eyes or blonde, which he doesn't have, which mom or dad wanted, that is going to create anxiety in him. That's why I have lots of clients who thought their daughter was a boy. So let us say there was a twin and they thought one was boy. So both were girls. So when they took birth, the girl till 4 years of her age used to act like as if she was a boy. She liked cars. She was wearing clothes like boy, etc. And that pressure was removed when mother gave a birth to a son, and she started going back little by little to become a daughter again. So all these
and what you're saying is that this is all at this very unconscious level, but I guess we kind of think that unconscious, we traditionally think that unconscious level comes in after the baby's born, but you're saying it's and no, it's not just an unconscious level before while the baby's growing in the womb, but also even before that there's that unconscious level within the ovum and the sperm
of
those parents' hopes and dreams. And it's funny because as a midwife, with first time parents particularly, or actually just people in general, they sort of often, I've had that comment of, do you think that women should find out what sex they have, or couples should find out what sex the baby is? And I would have to say, I think that when it's a first baby, it's fabulous not to know what the sex is, because it just adds this whole layer of extra excitement on the day of the birth. And it's, I know that this whole reveal party's all in vogue, but what I have also said though is that in my experience, when you've got a situation, not that we were going to end up talking about the sex of babies, but it just it goes right to that level as you were talking. But when I've had situations of parents who clearly have got a real strong hope or desire of what that sex might be. Maybe they've already got 3 boys or they've already got 3 girls, and they are just so hopeful that they're going to have one of the opposite sex. And in those situations, I think it's very valuable for the parents to find out what the sex of that baby is, so that if it's not the one that they were hoping for, they have time to adjust. And those mums, you see them kind of over the course of those months, they kind of get into this better headspace, and they're going, okay, 4 boys is my destiny, that's what I'm going to do. Or and they kind of get into this place of unconditional acceptance. And the other thing talking on that I've seen is where, which is a sad thing to comment on, but where people have had 2 or 3 of the same sex baby, and then when another one is born, if it's the same sex again, they get all this empathy and sympathy from people that they don't even want, and people are going,
Yes.
oh, you got another girl, oh,
Yes.
yeah,
Do you
and
believe
they're
it?
like, but I love my daughter, she's beautiful,
Yes.
look at my daughter.
Yes.
And people are
Yes.
going, oh, you just kind of want to slap them, really. And so it's so interesting that. So where do you think? And also, actually, when you're talking about that unconditional acceptance, there's also that very tricky situation where people have scans at around 20 weeks and they find out that there's an anatomical abnormality with that baby.
Yes.
And it might be something fairly minor, like they don't have 10 fingers and 10 toes. It's something, a slight variation on that. And what's your thoughts on that whole, where do you think it's a good thing that people can have scans sometimes and be kind of pre-warned on some stuff, and that kind of, rather than having that impact right at the birth that there's an anomaly?
Listen, I think having a baby is a planification. There was a misconception that first people thought that pregnancies, I mean, when the baby takes birth, from there you have to take care. Then they started looking at pregnancy. Then they went to from the conception. Then, somebody said prenatal. But in fact, pregnancy doesn't start from sperm consciousness. It starts when the first idea of having a baby crosses father or mother's, future parents' head. So your cells, we know the biology of belief by Dr. What's his name? Oh, the biology of belief, very famous doctor who is, I've forgotten his name. Okay, whatever. So our cells can communicate with each other. If one cell is doing something, we know that what other cell is doing if it's doing something different. So pregnancy start when the idea comes, and cells, yeah, Bruce Lipton. Thank you very much, Tracy Fisher. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Dr. Bruce Lipton. I might have a chance to speak, with him on the same stage soon, when, we are out of COVID. So we have that thing in our head. So as soon as
So
what
where
we think,
I have to ask the question at that point. So seeing as around half of pregnancies are unplanned, so how does that impact it? If they were not thinking about having a baby, so how does that impact it on that theory?
yeah, of course, there is no such thing as accidents for unconscious mind.
Right. Okay. So now what we're talking about is that whole difference between conscious and unconscious.
Yeah.
And,
So let
look,
us say,
you might be, your conscious mind may be having sexual intercourse because it feels great, but your unconscious mind knows that there's always
that you are pregnant and baby is there. So the question is, if I know, because I have clients who went to few moments after conception, and first 15 days, first month, and they say, I feel so lonely and alone. My mother doesn't know that I have arrived. So baby come into existence only when mother declares that she is pregnant. So then, they say, oh, now my mother has declared that I'm pregnant. So now others come to me and they talk to me, and I love it when they touch my belly, or they, or they caress it. My father, I feel his caress and I feel so much loved, etc.
So you've got clients with that regressive memory that they can find goes back to the point of their mum not even knowing that they're around.
Absolutely.
And that, wow, isn't that amazing?
Yes.
I find it
So,
fascinating.
so
Actually,
at that
look,
time,
into that topic, I know that in your book, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but your book on the unseen wisdom of the unborn, you explained about how a client's tumor disintegrated after you were
absolutely.
working with her life story of being in her mother's womb. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that experience?
Sure. So it's very interesting, you know. So first of all, I am not talking about this is my experience, but I talk about. Of course, I will go in more details. But I remember Dr. Meinhold talked about experience. The person with terminal cancer, stomach cancer, came to know his cause of cancer in one session, and the whole tumor went out into the toilet that night. He recovered completely. How it happened, he was not able to understand even. The first AIDS case has been cured without any medication in Ecuador. I two private without any medication through this therapeutic process, working in mother's womb, and two, private clinics have confirmed it. In my case, it was really a great miracle. So when that lady came to me because her right knee was hurting because I used to give yoga classes. So I said, "Oh, this right knee is connected with father. Do you have issues with father?" And she said, "Yes." So she offered for therapy. So what happened? So I didn't know that she had this benign tumor into her pituitary gland, which is sella, right? Because there's a hollow bone here. So second year, 4 years of therapy, 197 sessions in total, whole life therapy. And second year, the tumor started growing up. So I thought, what psychotherapy has to do with it? Nothing. I mean, it's a physical thing. And after ending for third year, when we are approximately finishing therapy, it completely disintegrated. So what happens? So this is the same example I was giving you before about that girl, that she was rejected from mother, where father wanted to get separated. That's the story, connecting with the same client. Remember, I was talking in a show before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now what happens? Mother cannot get separated from the father because father sent the sperm with the unconscious consciousness that mother is going to be pregnant. She's not going to leave him. So now mother feels that she's pregnant and she now has to stay with the father. So she has very stressful life. She feels, she feels obliged. She doesn't like the things. She feels depression. She feels anxiety and every kind of sadness. So now, listen, this is very important for all the midwives listening. Now she, in the 7th month of her during birth, she says, "I have come to see life, what I'm doing here. My mother is always anxious. She's always nervous. I should go out and see the world." So she decides to take the birth at approximately beginning of 8th month, which we call unconsciously premature delivery.
Yes.
So as soon as she starts taking birth, she remembered that mother got agreed with the doctor, with the gynecologist, that children should be born after 9 months. If she is going to born before 9 months, because at that time they don't have technology where they could see hands and arms are there, right?
Yes, right.
So she said, if I'm going to born before 9 months, she might born without some part of her body. And now when she remembered that, because mother got agreed, so the anxiety went up that she's already been rejected by the mother. And now if she goes out and she doesn't have, if she's missing a part of her body, she will be rejected from her siblings as well as also from father. Now she wants to go back, but she can't. So she does a suicide attempt. So she turns around and hit her head against mother's pelvic bone, the back of the neck. But during that turning, she hits this part of her sella, pituitary gland, with that bone, but she was born healthy. In around 32, 33 years of her age, that benign tumors pops up here. And when she went to mother's womb and discovered that, she was able to make peace with it, understood what happened to mother. So mother had issues with the father, not with her. Because
Right.
when she connected with the soul, with the unconsciousness of mother, she found that great love, which she never thought would be there. And tumor got disintegrated. And I remember her doctor was very orthodox, and he said, okay, see how the medication work. But her gynecologist was a bit more open, and he's asked her, I know that it happens once in million cases, and yours is not that
Yes.
case.
So,
What else you have been, because what happens, those who have benign
yeah.
tumor, they eat the medication the rest of their life and they die a natural death. If they become malignant, they go to neurosurgeon, they drill it out. So he says, this is not your case. What else you have been doing? So then she explained that how she created, etc. He says, I don't believe it, but still, I mean, yours is not that case that medication can cure you. But now what you have been saying, I have to believe it because there is no other way you can say goodbye to it. So that was the thing, you know, which created lots of enthusiasm and to understand how that mind works. And that gave me a lot of confidence. Her cyst disappeared. She didn't have orgasms. She never felt orgasm with boys. She started getting that, and she was able to remove her fear, which were transferred to her by the mother, that all boys are bad, you should not trust them. And she was living
Right.
that thing till 40, 44 years of her age.
God, it's fascinating, isn't it? You know, I mean,
And his,
it's that whole power of the mind. You know, we just in our own infancy of beginning to really understand and comprehend and respect what, you know, the power that is there and the influence. We've had a couple of interesting questions that we haven't covered off that I'd like to bring up. But
sure.
so the first one is in telling our prospective parents this effective subconscious feelings towards the unborn child, will we not create more guilt and anxiety about their effect on the long-term health, the outcome of their child? And I know what you're talking about there, because you know, when you're carrying a baby, you just feel like you're this vessel of unclean sin that's just, you know, yes, you do kind of have all that, a lot of mother guilt already. So we just kind of slathering more onto our mothers, particularly, that carry these babies. So I guess it's like, how do we explain this in a way that does empower that mother, particularly, rather than disempowering her and giving her potentially more guilt and anxiety, particularly when, you know, as I say, statistically, around 50% of babies are unplanned from the
Yes,
mother's perspective as well. And actually,
absolutely.
that kind of brings in another question you might want to sort of answer at the same time that we've got here, is sort of saying, so the person is asked, so you're saying that if someone gets raped, the sperm still has the power to override the egg. So yeah,
Sorry, can
how
you,
do,
I don't,
and then I guess we'd have to say, how does that happen for a woman with an unplanned pregnancy who was raped for that pregnancy? It's layers on layers on layers. It's so fascinating.
yes, you know, first of all, let me clarify one thing to the people who have abortion first. Let me answer that question, which I wanted to.
Yes,
So,
that's a very good one. Yeah.
so it is possible. So when we work, let us say person had an abortion, have guilt feeling that I was able to say goodbye to baby. So it's not mother's alone decision. The baby is participating there unconsciously, and also father is participating unconsciously. And main thing is of baby, because when we connect with baby, we can understand, because there's a telepathic connection between mother and baby. So baby says, so she says, oh, I'm not the one who has taken this decision. Baby knows it is not the right time to take birth. and he wants to go back, and he wants to come when is the right time. So first of all, don't feel that guilty. It is possible. So now having this knowledge, so we are human beings. There is no such thing as perfect parents. No mother is bad, because without her, we would not be here today. Our mother accepted her, we took birth. So that is the biggest example of our mother loving us. So when you have that knowledge, of course, feeling fear is natural. Every human being feels fear. So all these fears are there, but that is not important for baby. Father or mother can always talk, look, baby, right now your dad is not here, or your dad, he loves you, but he's not available. Or I am afraid, but don't worry, we love you. So how much confidence you transmit, although you are scared or you have those things, but you talk to baby and baby feels that secured. So don't worry.
Yeah.
If I'm
and what's it's like you want to intentionally
absolutely
transmit that love. So yes, of course you're fearful, and scared about all these different things, and you can talk to your unborn baby and admit that, because that's the human side of you.
Yeah, no, you just say, hun, I love you. Recently have an argument with your dad, but you have got nothing to do with it. Your dad loves you independently. I love you independently. So don't connect with that. Feel that love. This thing you need to feel, not that thing. So you're creating, so like you're programming baby's brain to have, good feelings. I mean, the best you can do, and your best is enough. There is no perfect parents. Nobody's perfect. Even Mother Teresa suffered, clinical depressions. Bruce Lee, so much health. Robin Williams committed suicide. So nothing is perfect. So the only thing is your connection with yourself is the only perfection you're looking for.
So in actual fact, what this can do when you explain it that way to an expectant mum, because when women come in, especially on that first appointment with their midwife, you got a whole big spectrum of how that woman's feeling about that pregnancy, from the ones that are overjoyed to the ones that are horrified. And so it's almost like empowering them into saying, look, whatever you're feeling is okay. You can't feel guilty about how you feel, but it's about how you react to that feeling, and just talk to your baby.
Yes, like you guide your son or daughter, hey, don't do this, this is the right way. So you tell him, okay, this is the right way, this is the right way of feeling the love, the warmth, the balance, and all those things, because everything starts there. There's nothing else which can start there. And of course, I have written in my book, The Unseen Wisdom of the Unborn, I have answered many of those questions, where, how the client created a deafness when he was in mother's womb, because father or mother used to have heated arguments and didn't want to listen to them.
Oh, right.
And that deafness and definitely disappeared. That definitely disappeared. Of course, he was not listening properly completely. So there was a less, grade of deafness, but it completely disappeared after understanding, oh, it has got nothing to do with him.
Right. Okay. We're going to need to wind things up a little bit, but can you, how are people best to connect with you and to buy a copy of your book, The Unseen Wisdom of the Unborn? I have just had a message come through that somebody was looking for the book, The Unseen Wisdom of the Unborn, and they found one in a book marketplace at a used copy that's being sold for $300, which sounds a little bit suspicious.
Actually, what happened?
That's a gold-plated book, but probably the best way, I guess, is for people to have your website. And of course, we'll also be sending out an automatic email after the webinar tomorrow. I think it goes out, which will have your
So
website as
I'm pleased to
well. But yeah,
announce that.
tell people how to get in contact with you.
So first of all, pleased to announce that I sold around 800 copies of my first book. Now I've created a second edition. So that's why I was removing it, and I threw out the publisher who, took a lot of advantage. So the book is available now, The Unseen Wisdom of the Unborn. It's available on Amazon.com, and it is as second edition. It is available in USA. I'm trying to get it done because I was recently sent an email that should be available in Australia. And I think from Amazon.com, if you write The Unseen Wisdom of the Unborn, and you see there it says second edition, and it's not Atul Kumar Mehra. Now second edition appears at Atul K Mehra. So you can buy it from their paperback. So the delivery is very quick. I think they are also right now, sending it to Australia and New Zealand. If not, it's going to be available very soon. So don't buy that golden book. It's no more available.
Right. So just definitely ignore that one.
Yes.
So yeah. So what? And
because I have added new thing. One second.
Yes.
I have added new thing in second edition, which is the extra page which has come, which is known as, because my studies on sperm is completely over. Now I'm working on my research. How does an ovum feels? If ovum picks up the sperm, does the person has more mother influence than the father, or vice versa? So my research is going on, and can we reverse our mother's fears through that ovum or other diseases which are coming from there? And my website is atulmehra.com, and my email is myfriendatul@gmail.com or atul@atulmehra.com. So that is how people can connect.
So very easy. Basically, it's your name.com, and
that's right.
That's really good. Okay, well, look, it's just been absolutely wonderful having you here, Atul, and the most fascinating topics. And, let us remember that it is not that long ago that, mental health was seen as pseudoscience,
Yes.
and poppycock. And now, of course, we know that, it's a very important part of medical well-being, and perhaps when our grandbabies are having babies, this knowledge about sperm consciousness would have become just a normal part of knowledge.
Absolutely.
And people there'll be some way that it's been proven over time, and so right now, and that's what I love about having these fantastic guests on, is because we are talking, everything's cutting edge. That's what we talk about. Or it's that wonderful blend of old age, new age, that it's old wisdom that's now getting scientifically, researched, and
they are still far behind. They still need
catching up.
No, they still need more evidence to believe in themselves.
Yeah, they do. I remember when I was a research midwife at Auckland University, and a particular study that we were doing, and every time we're tracking these results, we'd all kind of look at each other and go, really? Like,
yes,
how is this happening?
Absolutely.
Like we could see things happening, but we didn't understand the physiology, and frankly still don't understand the physiology.
Yes.
And it's that whole thing that the more science learns about humans, the more it realizes that it doesn't have a clue.
That is absolutely right.
We're just this bottomless pit of mystery. So look, thank you so much for spending the time with us today, Atul. It's just been brilliant, and we're having some lovely comments coming through here, and lots of great talks, fascinating talks.
Thank you very much.
And it is, and it was just wonderful. So everybody feel free to contact Atul. So atulmehra.com, and we just wish everybody a wonderful rest of the weekend. Is there anything you'd like to finish up with, Atul?
Uh, well, make peace with your mom and dad in your heart. Never mind how they are towards you. That is their problem, not yours. And I'm sure that things are going to change in your life. There is nothing
Ooh.
more than mom and dad in your life. Everything goes around it. Make peace with them, forgive them, process them. And if they're still alive, go and talk to them, hug them, love them, and your life is going to change. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Wow, that's beautiful wisdom. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.